There we go. Got to the mic level. That's my fault. Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Stephen Harvey. Good to have you in on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey.
My mic's working.
Yeah, your mic's good because I just flipped it up. How are you doing today? It's a Friday.
Hey, I'm always happy when it's Friday.
Yeah.
This weekend we're going to the Patriots game. Yeah.
We'll hopefully see Mac Jones play well and have a good game. But
he couldn't play much worse than he did last week.
they are home underdogs, so that's gonna be interesting.
They traded for J.C. Jackson.
J.C. Jackson, big pickup. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. But it's that time. I decided to do this Friday, and honestly, there isn't really much that you could change other in my top 10 quarterbacks or in my Nate's Notches. So let's jump in with our first topic of today, which indeed is my top 10 quarterbacks entering week 5. So let's jump right into it. Now, these were my quarterbacks, top 10 quarterbacks, going into the season, going into week 1. And on paper, heading into the year, this makes a lot of sense. Now, unfortunately, the season has not been great for my top 10 list. We get Mahomes 1, Burrow 2, Hurts 3, Allen 4, Trevor Lawrence 5, Herbert 6, Aaron Rodgers at 7, Lamar at 8, Goff at 9, and Kirk Cousins at 10. A lot of parity has happened throughout the NFL season, including, unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers out for the year, but he's trying to make a comeback somehow with a torn Achilles. It'll be miraculous if somehow the Jets get into the playoffs and he could be a part of that run. So let's jump in with my brand new list entering week 5. We do this every quarter of the season. So next time will be about, heading into week 8, week 9, and then week 12, and then we'll wrap it up right before the playoffs starts. So after week 18, so that won't be exactly a quarter. But let's jump in with the first pick, or I guess the number 10 pick.
Number 10.
I got Baker Mayfield. Now, I was really debating this, but I talked to a couple of my friends about, this top 10 list and what they thought about it. And, basically what we've seen so far this season, Baker Mayfield's 5th in QBR, tied for 8th in passing touchdowns, 8th in passer rating, 8th in completion percentage, has more touchdowns and a significantly higher completion percentage in the same time frame as the Rams, as when he was on the Rams last season, 4 games, he's significantly better. And he's light years above his first 4 games with Carolina. He has the Bucs leading the NFC South as they're 3-1 right now. Now, we thought, at least on this show, yeah, the Bucs with Baker Mayfield, they're going to implode. There's a chance they could be looking at Caleb Williams, and depending on how you look at it, fortunately or unfortunately, the Bucs may have a viable long-term quarterback in the name of Baker Reagan Mayfield. So he's at my number 10 on this list. Let's go with the next one.
Number 9.
Number 9, I got C.J. Stroud. The Texans have found their long-term solution in quarterback. I know it's early. It's only week 4. We're heading into week 5 right now. However, he has looked extremely poised under the pocket. He's 5th in passing yards right now. He's 2nd in yards per completion behind Tua Tagovailoa. He's 3rd in yards per attempt behind Brock Purdy and Tua. He's 4th in yards per game, 9th in passer rating, and he's one of only 3 starting quarterbacks without an interception. He is very, very careful with his reads. Nico Collins looks great. Robert Williams looks good. And Tank Dell looks surprisingly efficient being that young. So C.J. Stroud is number 9. Let's go to number 8.
Number 8.
So number 8 is Kirk Cousins. Now, he's moved up since my original top 10 list. I understand. They're 1-3. They haven't been able to win any games. However, Kirk himself individually is 4th in passing yards, 3rd in passing yards per game, 6th in passer rating. He's tied for 1st in passing touchdowns with, surprisingly, this is going to change, but he's tied for 1st in passing touchdowns with Justin Fields. He's 10th in completion percentage. He's tied for the 8th highest graded passer tied with Lamar and Patrick Mahomes. I don't love the fact that they were 11-0 in one-score games last season, and now they're 1-3 now. Yeah, and probably they should have lost to Carolina. So right now they're 1-3 in one-score games. They probably should have lost to Carolina. It was embarrassing because right now the Panthers are looking for a wide receiver 1, and they don't have that. However, Kirk himself individually has been absolutely on fire. He's my number 8 quarterback. The next one.
Number 7.
Number 7, I got Jared Goff. He's also moved up slightly in my top 10 list. He's the 3rd highest grade passer according to Pro Football Focus. He's 6th in QBR, 9th in completion percentage, 9th in passing yards. He's tied for 9th in big-time throws. And here's the kicker. Yes, he's top 10 in big-time throws. He is 26th in turnover-worthy plays. So he's extremely smart with the football. He takes his chances. He takes calculated risks, and they have paid off because, like I said, going into the season, I really think The Jared Goff and this Lions offense can lead the Lions to their first playoff win in like 30 years. So Jared Goff is my number 7 quarterback so far entering week 5. Let's go to the next one, which is number 6.
Number 6.
I got Lamar Jackson. Now, he's moved up, I believe, 2 spots. He was number 8 originally. Now he's number 6. Right now, he leads the NFL with quarterbacks at least, in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. He's being incredibly efficient with the football. Now the numbers don't really put him in this list. However, what he's done so far this season with an injury-riddled receiver core, and now his offensive line is all banged up. He's 2nd in completion percentage, 7th in pass rating. He's tied for the 8th highest graded passer. Like I said, Kirk Cousins and Mahomes are the other two that are tied with him. I mean, just his efficiency with his top 2 targets. Rashad Bateman went down. I think Duvernay was dealing with an injury. OBJ is like glass bones and paper skin. And Ronnie Stanley has been banged up. Their center, Linderbaum, is getting absolutely shredded. I mean, right now, the Ravens are going back to the way it used to be. Banged up, bruised, injured, the entire thing. And Lamar has been able to pull out with these wins and look incredible. So he's my number 6 quarterback. Number 5. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked by this, but based on his name, that's the only reason why. Numbers-wise, Patrick Mahomes right now for me is the 5th best quarterback. He's the 5th highest in turnover-worthy plays. He got outplayed by Zach Wilson and Jared Goff. And honestly, a lot of people think because the NFL, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, he probably should have lost against the Jets too. But if you get outplayed by Zach Wilson, if you get outplayed by Jared Goff, and you are extremely careless with the football, you can't be number 1. In my opinion, you can't be even top 3. You're number 5. However, there is some positives so far to Patrick Mahomes' game this year. He's tied for 6th in passing touchdowns. He's 12th in passing yards. The shocker is he's 21st in completion percentage. And like I said, with 2 other quarterbacks, he's tied for the 8th highest graded passer with Lamar and Kirk Cousins. The Chiefs' offense right now this season does not look as dynamic as it has in the past, and right now the story is no longer about this Chiefs offense with Mahomes making miraculous plays. It's about Chris Jones and this dominant defense. It ain't about Mahomes. Mahomes so far this year has taken a hit in my rankings, and I think in a lot of people's rankings. Based on the numbers, there is no tangible proof that Patrick Mahomes right now is a top 3 quarterback, and that's just the facts. I'm sorry for all you Patrick Mahomes lovers. That's just the case. Let's go into number 4. We're breaking right into the top 5. I think a lot of people won't agree with this, but you know what? I think Brock Purdy right now deserves to be in the top 5, and this is why. He's 1st in QBR, 1st in passer rating, 2nd in yards per attempt, 3rd in completion percentage, 3rd in yards per completion. He joins C.J. Stroud and Joshua Dobbs as the only other starting quarterbacks without an interception on the year. I believe he has 5 touchdowns to no picks. He is still undefeated when he's healthy, regular season and postseason included. I mean, what Brock Purdy has done so far in a very, very small sample size cannot go understated. What he has done is probably one of the greatest starts to an NFL quarterback's career in NFL history. Well, I understand his team is stacked. However, and Mahomes is really that guy. We saw Brady do it, and that's what Mahomes. Mahomes already being called the greatest quarterback ever. If Mahomes really was the greatest, he should be able to take receivers like Kadarius Toney, like Sky Moore, and like all these receivers that aren't, true wide receiver ones, and elevate them to the next level. Now, he has Travis Kelce, but in week 1, when he didn't have Travis Kelce, he looked nervous. He did not look all that great. Brock Purdy, what he has done is the same thing Jimmy G has done, except on a safer, I think, slightly more elevated level. He is efficient with the football, finding the open receivers. He doesn't make the big mistake. However, I think, honestly, he actually steers away from big mistakes and actually plays it pretty safe, but it's pretty easy with a stacked team like the 49ers. What Brock Purdy has done is he's lived up to the hype, and right now he's going to play the Cowboys, which we'll talk about, later on in the show. He has performed to the upteenth degree. He's my number 4 quarterback so far entering week 5. Let's go to number 3. This was a lot of debate. However, I think it makes a lot of sense. Justin Herbert is the 3rd best quarterback right now in the NFL. He's 2nd in percentage of on-target throws, extremely accurate with the football. He's 7th in passing yards, 6th in completion percentage, 8th in passing touchdowns, 5th in passer rating, 7th in QBR, 5th in yards per game. He has a 7 touchdown to 1 interception ratio right there. And honestly, I think a lot of people can see it right now. Justin Herbert is what's keeping the Chargers afloat so far. Brandon Staley, now the defense with Khalil Mack in that last game was very good. He had 6 sacks. However, it was against Aiden O'Connell and a depleted Raiders offensive line. So what I'm going to say is Justin Herbert right now is the reason why the Chargers are winning, or are basically winning right now. For the past few years, it's really been Justin Herbert or bust. It's been coaching and defense that has screwed over Justin Herbert and this Chargers offense into winning more games. What he has done so far is absolutely incredible. He's on one of the best starts to a career. I mean, you look at 300-yard passing seasons consistent, or 300-yard per game passing seasons. I mean, what he has been doing is incredible. So Justin Herbert right now is the third best quarterback in the NFL. Let's break down number 1 and number 2. Number two is Josh Allen. Josh Allen. Now, I think some of you are going to be arguing about 2 and 1. However, Josh Allen just beat Tua Tagovailoa last week and now heads to London to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's first in completion percentage. He's tied for second in big-time throws, third in passer rating, third in QBR. He's tied for third in passing touchdowns. And here's sort of why. And you know what? I'll bring up the number 1 answer just so I can compare and contrast these two.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Tua Tagovailoa. So he lost to the Jets in week 1, right? Since then, the Bills are scoring 41 points per game. So the offense has absolutely exploded, and right now he currently leads in the MVP conversation. However, I'm still nervous about the fact that he's very, very turnover prone. He's tied for 6th right now in the NFL in interceptions. Tua, on the other hand, he's first in scoring, first in passing yards a game, first in yards per attempt, first in yards per completion. He's the highest graded quarterback according to Pro Football Focus. He's second in passing yards. Sam Howell played last night, which we'll talk about that game right after my first 2 topics. So that'll obviously change. Sam Howell right now is number 1 in passing yards. He'll obviously get past when the weekend hits. Tua's second in QBR, second in passer rating. He leads right now the most explosive offense. I mean, they just recently put up 700-plus yards and 70 points. And here's the reason why I put Tua over Josh Allen. When Josh Allen lost and when Tua lost, who looked like the better quarterback? Tua in his loss looks significantly better than Josh Allen in his loss. So yes, they both went 3-1, and yes, Josh Allen did just beat Tua. However, Tua played much better in his loss than Josh Allen did in his. So that's basically what I'm saying. That's my top 10 list right now. Tua 1, Allen 2, Herbert 3, Purdy 4, Mahomes 5, Lamar 6, Goff 7, Kirk 8, Stroud 9, and Baker hits number 10. I want to know, what do you think of my top 10 list?
I think you make a good argument for this list and the rankings for each of the quarterbacks where they stand. A little surprised you got Baker Mayfield in the top 10 there, given your
the numbers
history,
back it up.
Your history with him. He has actually surprised both of us a lot, right? He's surprised.
So far, I've been completely wrong about Baker.
Yeah.
I've been 100% wrong about Baker.
He's really resurrected his career. He's Tampa Bay fits nicely with him. They have really good wide receivers, although Mike Evans is hurt now. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how we do without him.
He always gets hurt.
One question I have for you. Sure. I see Jalen Hurts didn't make the top 10.
Hurts. Right now, I think he may be number 11 or number 12. Even the numbers don't back it up. We're seeing, quarterbacks like a C.J. Stroud, who's just a rookie. I mean, he's putting up significantly better numbers. Jalen Hurts right now does not have the numbers. And I honestly think the running game is more effective right now. Uh-huh. The Eagles, I don't think, are the same team this season. And we're going to see on my Nate's Notches in the next topic. But Jalen Hurts edges out the top 10.
The other thing I would ask you about is win-loss record. I mean, you base your rankings here more on just the individual stats of the quarterbacks. I think if it win-loss has something to do with it as well. I think
Kirk Cousins wouldn't be on this list.
Yeah, but maybe Brock Purdy would be number 1.
Well, if we're doing it by that, then Brock Purdy's 4-0. So that he would be number 1 on the list.
And he's never lost a game.
Correct.
That he's been healthy to play.
The only losses against the Eagles, but
in that game, he got hurt early in the game.
Right.
If he'd gotten hurt late in the game, they might have been ahead. And they might have won that game too. So I think it's representative. It's very credible. You make good arguments for the quarterbacks. I think Jalen Hurts has a lot more experience and a lot more stats to compare to than someone like C.J. Stroud, he's a rookie. This might be, a flash in the pan here in the first 4 or 5 games. But who knows? He looks really good. I'm impressed with him.
Absolutely,
I'm very impressed. He's much better than Young, right? Bryce Young.
Right.
And poor Bryce Young, he got hurt, and his team didn't seem to do much. I guess he doesn't have the wide receivers
Correct.
right?
They're actively looking for a wide receiver one.
Who's the number one receiver for the Texans?
Nico Collins. We talked about him
right,
on the last show.
And the second one is
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods is a very good receiver. Yeah.
He was good for the Rams. So, I don't know. I fully admit, Baker could fall off a cliff. C.J. Stroud could fall off a cliff. Kirk could all of a sudden win a bunch of games. Mahomes, I'm sure he'll jump back into the top 3 or 4, if not number 1. But as of right now, there is no tangible proof Mahomes is above any of these quarterbacks.
Yeah. I'd say Josh Allen, his first game was terrible.
The first game was bad. Was bad. However, when your team when you're averaging 41 points of a game since that loss, I mean, you got to put him up there. But I just think because yes, Tua did lose to Josh Allen. However, in Tua's loss, he still looked okay. He didn't throw 3 horrible interceptions like Josh Allen did. So and sort of get outplayed by Zach Wilson. But that's beside the fact. All right, let's jump into the second part of my solo topics, and that is Nate's Notches. So I categorize every single team. I believe this is how I start off on the season. We're recapping what I did in week 1. I know it says entering week 5, but this was my week 1, heading into week 1 Nate's Notches list. A lot of teams in the bottom there, dimly lit or unlit tunnel, because we didn't know. The Texans and the Colts were on there. Sam Howell, we didn't know. A lot of unknown factors there. There's a lot of changes now, so let's jump right into it with the bottom tier. I'm calling the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Now, this is not necessarily people, teams going for Caleb Williams. They could either be looking at a quarterback or they would be like a top 3 pick, and that is the bottom tier. So the Raiders, the Bears, the Giants, the Falcons, and the Steelers. These teams are some of the worst, if not the worst teams in the NFL. The Giants right now, there's a high likelihood that if Justin Fields starts playing like he did last night, and I mean that was an incredible game, the Giants do have a shot at Caleb Williams. Let's be honest here. I think the Raiders are going to be looking at a quarterback. Desmond Ridder doesn't seem to be the answer, and Kenny Pickett once again has resorted to what I called him last season, Kenny Pick 'em off. So I think there are going to be a lot of changes here, a lot of quarterbacks potentially, and I think a lot of these teams would be in the Caleb Williams or that top tier pick sort of ranking tier list. Let's go to the next one. I call this one needs major changes. The Jets. Zach Wilson had a great game against the Chiefs. However, bad quarterbacks could have 1 or 2 really, really good games. They're still probably a bad quarterback. I mean, we saw Daniel Jones have an okay season, he signed a contract for $160 million, $40 million a year, and he resorted back to the old Daniel Jones. The Bengals, Joe Burrow needs to sit down. He has to sit. Now, apparently, he's the healthiest he's been since he hurt his leg. Supposedly, he's off the injury report. So who knows what that'll be, whether or not he actually is good enough to run an efficient offense. The Panthers, you need to either do something with, Frank Reich may not be the guy. Based on reputation, it seemed like a good option. I'm not necessarily sure that it's the best option. Bryce Young looks okay, not good, not great. Andy Dalton did a better job pushing that offense down, but they need a wide receiver one. They need to give him a weapon and give him a half second more, at least in the pocket. That offensive line is pretty bad. Next one's the Denver Broncos. That defense, Van Joseph, the defense coordinator, he either needs to get fired or they need to figure out something on defense. They just traded away... he just went to the 49ers. Why am I forgetting his name? Who was the guy they traded? Randy Gregory, that's who it is. They traded him away. So they're literally just getting rid of the defensive piece. I know he barely played with the Broncos. However, he's still a pretty good defensive piece. The Titans just played. Ryan Tannehill just outplayed Joe Burrow. However, I don't think that's sustainable. I think the Titans need to get something going here. Ryan Tannehill, this probably, I'm going to call it, will be his last year with the Tennessee Titans. And then the defense of the Vikings needs to step up. Their defense is pretty bad. So these teams need major changes, mostly on the defensive side. But yeah, these are the major changes category. The next set of teams in the tier ranking system of Nate's Notches is it's do or die moments. So that's the Patriots, Chargers, Jaguars, Saints, Browns, and Rams. The Rams, their defense is surprisingly okay, not great, but it's better than at least I thought it would be. They need to get something going. Cooper Kupp's back. Puka Nacua has looked great. I think his name is Kyron Williams, if I'm not mistaken, the running back. He's been pretty good. You got to get something going here. This is your moment to shine. The Seahawks, they seem to be they're seemingly getting the ball rolling right now. So the Rams got to get something going, or else you're going to fall behind the Seahawks and fall behind the 49ers and basically, get rid of any hope you'll be making the playoffs. The Browns, Deshaun Watson apparently was a healthy scratch. That didn't go well in the locker room. not too good right now. So, and also that defense did not hold up against Lamar Jackson last week. It was pretty bad. However, when Dorian Thompson Robinson DTR gives up a bunch of turnovers and that doesn't look great, your defense is going to be out there probably every 2 or 3 minutes. So maybe a pass there. However, the defense wasn't the defense that we saw in the first 3 weeks. The offense for the Saints with Derek Carr has been one of the worst in the NFL, and that's surprising because I had a lot of hope and a lot of faith Derek Carr would get the job done there. And right now, Baker has done a significantly better job than Derek Carr, and I think Derek Carr should be the better quarterback. So the Saints need to get something going. They have a good defense. Offensive line needs a little bit of work, and Derek Carr needs to step up with the amount of talent he has around him. Next one, the Jacksonville Jaguars. What the hell is going on? I had the Jaguars potentially being the number 1 seed, and they look absolutely abysmal. Trevor Lawrence, I really think it's just unfortunate situations. I mean, you had a bunch of would-be touchdowns against the Chiefs. I think you lost 17-9 there. Calvin Ridley probably isn't the player you were hoping he would be. You got to get something going. The AFC South is right there for the taking. You all are tied at 2-2. So who's going to break out of it? It could be the Texans. It should be you. I don't know if you can get it done. The Chargers, like we talked about in the previous tier, the previous notch with needs major changes, your defense has got to step up. It played okay so far, Khalil Mack with the 6 sacks or whatever. However, you got to keep it going. You got to keep the momentum going. Justin Herbert has looked great. He's right now he's the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL for me. That defense is a problem. Brandon Staley just bought himself a little bit of time before more uproar starts over him. Should probably, at least in my opinion, I thought he should have gotten fired last season. I think, if the defense keeps failing, the defense keeps, allowing a bunch of points, people are going to be calling for Brandon Staley's job. So I'm going to say you got to step it up on defense or else you're going to fall behind. And the Patriots, Mac Jones does not look great. Bill Belichick, it's unfortunate that he's both the GM and the head coach because I think Bill Belichick, he would have fired himself as the GM because what he's done so far to build a team around Mac Jones has been, one of the worst jobs you could probably ever see in the NFL. You got to get something going here. The Saints, right now, their defense it's taken a little bit of a hit. You did lose Matt Judon. You did lose Christian Gonzalez. However, we're going to talk about later on. It took you about all of 5 minutes to go out and get J.C. Jackson when Christian Gonzalez was out for the season. You should have done that for a wide receiver. Unfortunately, you didn't. You got to make a move now. Otherwise, I called, beginning of the year so far, Bill Belichick may get fired in the offseason because I think Robert Kraft is going to be very pissed off at Bill Belichick. The next notch, these are teams that are surprising. Anthony Richardson, I didn't think he would be all that great because he's a super raw rookie. Hell, he looks actually pretty good. Shane Steichen's doing it again. He did it with Jalen Hurts. He did it with Justin Herbert, and now he's doing it with Anthony Richardson. The Colts actually look like a pretty good team. I believe they're in my Harvey hot hand. If they're not, are they? Let's see. They are not in my Harvey hot end. However, I do like them this week. As a little bit of a spoiler for later on in the show, I do like them this week. They're an interesting team. I think they could actually go pretty far if they keep Shane Steichen as their head coach. Next with Green Bay Packers. A lot of question marks are whether or not Jordan Love could replicate or even come near what Aaron Rodgers did for the Green Bay Packers. I thought he could. I thought if he could pull out a season like last season, you go 8-9 and play about average football, they would be perfectly fine. And so far, that has been the case. He's played as expected, at least for me. A lot of people, the question marks around Jordan Love, they were, they should be there. We didn't really see much. What we heard wasn't all that great. The Packers have played surprisingly well, so good for them. The Packers are in my surprising category. The Cardinals, who I think everyone thought would be terrible, heading for the number 1 pick, or at least the top 3 pick, they are playing with so much grace and power and motivation. It's shocking. They were this close to covering against the 49ers. Unfortunately, they didn't. However, what they are doing so far this season is great. It's phenomenal. It's shocking. So I got to put them in the surprising category. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. I wrongly, at least currently, projected that Baker Mayfield, A, should not be a starting quarterback, and B, would tank the Buccaneers season so they can go out and get Caleb Williams at the number 1 pick. I was wrong on both accounts. Baker Mayfield, at the current moment, like I have him on my list, he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. There's tangible proof right now that Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers is a significantly better quarterback than at any point in his career. So props to Baker, props to the Bucs for looking at Baker Mayfield. They're in my surprising category. The Commanders, Sam Howell just went toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia Eagles and then ultimately lost to Justin Fields. And however, the defense got absolutely shredded in that first half. 27-3 in the first half. They could not stop Justin Fields. I mean, we're talking about DJ Moore, who's open on basically every single pass. I mean, it was insane. I think he had like 150-something yards at the end of the first quarter. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. However, though, he's playing better than at least I thought he would. I thought the Commanders would be sort of that bottom tier. Hey, they could be competing for the NFC East. I'm not saying they will. However, they are. They could be interesting in the regard of they could be up there potentially stealing that 7th playoff spot. Who knows? The next team is the Seahawks. We don't know if Geno Smith could replicate what he's been doing, at least in the previous year. So far, he's been sort of like that. He's still been pretty efficient with the football, but that defense, we just saw what it did to the Giants. I mean, at some point, you feel bad for Daniel Jones. He got sacked 10 times, 11 total sacks on the day. The Seahawks, I don't know if they're fully replicating what they did last season, but they're sort of in the ballpark of what they did last season. So props to Pete Carroll finding a really, really good draft pick in Devin Witherspoon. Geno Smith is doing a pretty good job, so they're still in my surprising category. And the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud. When we think of the Texans, we think of a young franchise. I think they were formed in 2002, so relatively young, about, 21 years old. I think C.J. Stroud is the long-term answer at quarterback, and at the current moment, I think DeMeco Ryans is the long-term solution at the head coach position. Now, I think they need to beef up their offensive line. I think their defense needs a little bit of work, but so far, the Texans look like a pretty good team. C.J. Stroud, at the current moment, is the 9th best quarterback, according to me, so there we go in the surprising category. The next one, the definite playoff teams, this is coming back. I got the Cowboys, Eagles, Lions, and Ravens. I think there's really no debate here. Maybe if you want to combine them with the next tier of Super Bowl bubble, the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Dolphins, you may be able to flip-flop some of them. However, I think there is really no contest to see that these 7 teams are some of the best 7 teams in the NFL right now. I really don't think if you look at it, there's really any question that these 7 teams, the Chiefs, Bills, Dolphins, Cowboys, Eagles, Lions, Ravens, are the best, or some of the best teams in the NFL. However, they are not the best team, which that goes to the San Francisco 49ers. Look at any level, they don't miss. Right now, they are the best team in the NFL. From offense to defense to even really to special teams. They have all the bases covered. They're the best team. Brock Purdy, efficiency through the roof. Talent, every which way you look. They really can't miss. They just got Randy Gregory to add to their defensive front. They are going for Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa. They have a potential Defensive Player of the Year again, so there you go. Those are my Nate's notches. Do you have any disagreement with any placement of a team?
I might have moved the Commanders down after last night's game.
Where would you put them? Do or die mode? Need major changes?
I guess maybe do or die because they're in a. Well, maybe the division isn't as tough this year. The Giants are terrible. So,
right.
But you said they might sneak into the 7th playoff spot.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they played last night, I doubt it. They got smoked.
Well, what's interesting that I realized that Ron Rivera and the Commanders, they are consistently erratic. I mean, we look at 2020, top 2 defense. The following year, they were down. Then you go into last year, they had a pretty good defense. Now they don't look like a good defense. I mean, it's been up and down and up and down and up and down. So they're consistently erratic in that pattern. But hey, Sam Howell looks surprisingly better than I think we all thought. He was a huge question mark. So, maybe I think the Bears maybe should have moved up if you're thinking about it because of last night. However, I just think it's Justin Fields. It's the Bears. I mean, he was a YouTube highlight last season, and they won 3 games. So, I mean,
yeah. No, I think you got that's given your categories. I think I like the distribution in those categories. I think they're right. I think you got the top 8 teams right. San Francisco looks like they're world beaters this year. Miami, I thought they were the world beater there until last week.
I think their defense is the massive question mark there. But outside of their defense, I think they are, at least offensively, they're probably one of the best. I think
San Francisco's the most complete team. I'd say Kansas City and Buffalo right there, with having teams that are both teams are quite complete. If Von Miller can get back, is he coming back this week?
Yeah.
Then that could make a big difference for Buffalo as well. So, yeah, very interesting and
fair point.
I think pretty accurate. I'm counting on I agree that do or die for the Patriots this weekend. They got to win, and they're playing the Saints, who you have in the do or die category. So that hopefully it'll be a good game, exciting game. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I believe it is time now. I don't think we're going to break. We're actually going to jump into last night's game. So the Bears It's been 14 games, nearly a full calendar year. However, they did snap their 14-game losing streak in a 40-20 rout of the Washington Commanders. Sam Howell, I believe, threw for nearly 400 yards in this game. So, he was absolutely insane. 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 99 passer rating. But Justin Fields and DJ Moore, that connection was absolutely incredible. 230 yards and 3 touchdowns for DJ Moore, and sealed the game with a late-game touchdown that put it away. So I don't know, what was your reaction to last night's game?
The DJ Moore, Justin Fields show.
Yeah.
Right? Particularly in the first half. My God. DJ Moore is great. He's kind of he's not you don't hear his name talked about in the top flight receivers. He's right up there now. I'd say he did great last night. He looked like an all-pro. And so did Justin Fields. Justin Fields moving around. He had 57 yards rushing as well as 273 yards passing. But to me, the big difference in this game was the rushing yards. The Bears had 178 yards on the ground, and the Commanders 29.
Yeah, no,
29 yards. Come on, that looks like the Patriots now. Right? They don't have a running game either. But I don't know what happened to them. They had no running game at all, and that put more pressure on Howell, who looks good. I got to say, Howell, he could be the real deal, huh?
He's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great game last week too. And the mistake he made was early in the game throwing that interception.
Yeah.
That hurt. And the Bears capitalized on that. So, I don't know. It was an interesting game to watch. And maybe Justin Fields is on his way to being an MVP, right? If he can keep playing like this. But I will say, last year, the Bears had a stretch where they looked good.
Yeah.
And Justin Fields looked good. And then they wound up falling apart. So, I'd say it's too small a sample size to think that the Bears are the real deal. They played reasonably well last week. They could have won that game against the Broncos, but the Broncos are not a very good team, and the Commanders don't appear to be that great either. So we'll see how the Bears do in the coming weeks.
I'll say this. Ron Rivera, I feel like, has a reputation always taking risks. Late in the game, the Riverboat Run. I mean, late in the game, he could have elected to go for to go for it on 4th down, except he tried to kick a field goal. I don't understand. You got to take risks. When you're down by a significant amount of points and the game is close, you got to take risks. And I don't know why Ron Rivera decided to play it safe when throughout his career, that isn't really what his reputation was. It's to take risks. But you're right. Yeah, the Bears defense, which has been, probably the biggest question mark this season, it wasn't really Justin Fields. It was a lot about this defense. They stepped up big time, massively, at least, on the running game side. Brian Robinson Jr. Is a pretty big part of this offense, and they shut him down, 1.7 yards a carry. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time they ran a designed run was like 9:20 in the 4th quarter. I think Hal threw it, I want to say
51 times.
Yeah, 51 times, but I think he threw it like 37 straight plays or something like that. I might be wrong on the number there, but he threw it a significant amount of times in a row because they couldn't run the ball. They had to get something going, and because they were down by so much, you need to throw the ball because you don't want to waste that time running the football and just eating up clock. If it's an interception, the clock stops. So I got hands to the Bears defense there. 5 sacks, no running game, shutting down whatever the Commanders tried to do. And hey, sometimes, like I said with Zach Wilson, bad quarterbacks could have a game or two. Justin Fields had back-to-back pretty good games, except the outcome of this game compared to last week was flipped. The Bears, great first halves in both of these games. Second half, the Broncos were able to come back. Second half of this game, the Commanders, they looked good in the second half. They looked better. I have the number here. They scored 17 points compared to 3 second half to first half comparison. So they did better in the second half, but being down 27-3 at halftime against the Bears, that's demoralizing because everyone knows they're not a great team, and their quarterback has serious questions swirling around him, and you just went toe-to-toe with the Eagles. Maybe it was at a very, very emotional game, and you put a lot of energy into the Eagles game, so you're exhausted, short week, you're tired, so there you go. I think that very well could play into this.
Yeah, well, the Commanders were at home.
Yeah.
They play lousy. Generally, the home team plays a little better than that.
Well, you would hope so for the fans' sake.
Yeah.
And what's shocked is that they really couldn't get anything going when Khalil Herbert went down. He had a strange injury, but it didn't really seem to stop the Bears' offense. DJ Moore, great game. Now, while I think he is a top flight receiver, I think he sort of hides underneath the radar. I think in a large part, he's not considered amongst the Justin Jeffersons or the Devontae Adams of the world. However, I really think he's a 1,000+ yard receiver, it seems like every single season.
Receiver for the Panthers.
Yeah, for the Panthers. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Sam
not easy to
Darnold
do.
and PJ Walker
Right.
and Baker Mayfield throwing him the football.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think DJ Moore, flies underneath the radar. He's a very underrated receiver. So you know what? Good for the Bears. They won their first game in nearly a calendar year. Can you guess when the last win was? Besides this one, what was the last win that the Bears had?
Wow, it was a while ago.
Yep.
Right.
It was I think 346 or 348 days.
Was it the Patriots?
I believe it was the Patriots on. I think that was a Monday night game.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I can't believe the Patriots lost that game. I'm
New
still
England
wondering
Patriots.
about
They
that.
won 33-14.
Yeah.
That was Mac Jones' comeback game after that high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
And there you go.
And he got taken out of the game, and Bailey Zappi wound up playing most of it.
You're right. Yeah, he played about a half. But yeah, no, this team right now, it still has a lot of question marks. And I still think the Bears are not a team to really be, they need to game plan intensely. You got to shut down people. If you slow them down, I think they're not a good enough team on all phases to beat you, even if they're slowed down.
Yeah. Well,
they
showed something last night. We'll see if they can keep it going.
I don't trust Justin Fields still. I simply just don't trust it. I really think this team is not good enough to go in here and win games outright. You're playing the Commanders, who, yes, they have been very, very shocking this season, are still the Washington Commanders. Now you go. This is their schedule right now. Now you're going up against next week against the Vikings and the Raiders and the Chargers. Those are three teams that do not have great defenses. The best defense is probably the Chargers, and you're at Los Angeles on that one. That might be the hardest game, at least Justin Fields needs to face for that 3-game stretch. However, your defense, the Bears' defense, I believe will get exposed maybe in all 3 of these games. Now, we just heard about an hour before the show that Jimmy G is coming back. That really puts a real kill shot into one of my Harvey Hot Hand picks. However, I'm holding on tight. I don't know if Jimmy G could get it done. However, the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, how are you going to slow him down? I think that's going to be a huge question mark. I think if Jimmy G has time, if the Bears defense goes back to being the Bears defense that isn't a good defense whatsoever, Jimmy G will have time. He'll find Devontae Adams. He'll make it work. Or Josh Jacobs will have a great rushing attack game, and that'll make it work. The Chargers, you got Keenan Allen. You got Quentin Johnson. You got Austin Eckler. You got a lot of pieces on that offensive side. Now, Mike Williams, I believe, is out for the year, unfortunately. However, we'll see if Quentin Johnson can fill into that role and become a good wide receiver too for the Chargers. But they have a decently hard schedule right now. Then it eases up a tiny bit later on in the year, towards the very, very end of the year, where you got the Browns with who knows what they're going to look like at the end of the year, the Cardinals and the Falcons. So there's where you can get a couple wins. The Panthers also, you play them in a couple weeks. So there's a chance that
the schedule
the Bears
isn't
could
that
bounce
tough.
back.
Right? Their schedule isn't that hard.
I believe
it's because they were so bad last year. They got a reasonably easy schedule. So far, they're off. They won 1 game.
Yeah.
So maybe they've got something going here because the Commanders overall, not a terrible team. They were 2-2 going into the game last night.
Right.
And they beat them at home. The Bears beat them at home. So we'll see what they do. Maybe they're on a little bit of a roll here and they win some games. It's nice that they won one, actually, given how many they lost in a row. It's got to make them feel a lot better, give them a lot of confidence. I'm sure that was a confidence game for Justin Fields.
Absolutely.
Right?
You have back-to-back games where you play great. I mean, that has to mean something. I think Justin Fields, now I call him a bad quarterback, and history proves me correct. He bought himself time. Just like Zach Wilson with that phenomenal game against the Chiefs, outplaying Mahomes. You buy yourself a little bit of time.
Zach Wilson did make a blunder there in that game.
He fumbled late.
Snap.
However, I think the Chiefs had like 7 minutes left in that game, and the Jets defense couldn't come up with a stop.
Him.
So, but you're right. That fumble did basically cost the Jets the game. However, when bad quarterbacks play extremely well and play better than probably they should, buys you a little bit of time. Buys you time that you could maybe either prove to everyone that you're a good quarterback, or, they still hold out hope that you could be what you once were. And that's what the Giants are feeling out with Daniel Jones this season. They're hoping he can go back to being efficient Daniel Jones like it was last season. And so far, hasn't looked good. For a $40 million quarterback, he certainly is not playing like it. So There you go. Justin Fields, congratulations. You bought yourself time. And, back-to-back games where you played well. Right now, I have to eat my words on what I said about you beginning of this season. Let's get into this one. This is America's game of the week. It's the Dallas Cowboys going up against the San Francisco 49ers. So Dak Prescott and the Cowboys head to San Francisco to play Brock Purdy and the 49ers. The last time these teams met was the 2022 divisional playoff game where the 49ers won 19-12. We all remember that game. Dak Prescott, 2 very, very bad interceptions. So I want to know, what do you think will be the difference in either the 49ers or the Cowboys coming out with this win? I believe it's on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday Night Football.
I think it's Dak Prescott. If he plays well and he doesn't make stupid mistakes, then the Cowboys have a pretty good chance to win. If he's like he was in that playoff game, then I think San Francisco's going to win. And I do think San Francisco's going to win. I think they're going to expose Dak Prescott a little bit against an elite defense. I think he'll make mistakes.
Well, I'm going to agree with you because, in the last 2 appearances, the last 2 playoff appearances that Dak faced off against the 49ers, it has not been great. 66.7 passer rating, averaging 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing, and 3 interceptions. So the 3-to-3 touchdown to interception ratio, if you include that rushing touchdown. But he has not been good. Hell, he's been pretty bad. Brock Purdy is out. Here's the thing. Brock Purdy didn't even play well. Dak literally threw the game away. So it's about minimizing mistakes. And so far this season, Dak Prescott has minimized his mistakes on a massive scale. However, he did play against the Jets and the Giants and the Patriots and the Cardinals. However, he's minimized mistakes to a large degree compared to what he did last season, where he played 12 games and led the league in interceptions. He's toned it back a little bit. Now, could be the competition that the Cowboys have played, and right now it's a smokescreen on how good they actually are because of the level of competition? Maybe. But this game right now, I really think could be a preview of the NFC Championship game if the Cowboys really can mimic, at least defensively, what they have in their first set of games so far this season. If they shut Brock Purdy down, it'll be up to Dak Prescott. Because I think Brock Purdy, as young as he is, as talented he is, honestly, in the game against the 49ers, in the last playoff game, Cowboys-49ers, it really was up to Dak Prescott. He had several opportunities to put this game away, or at least tie the game, and he threw it away. So as long as he minimizes the mistakes, doesn't make a boneheaded playmaking or decision, I really think the Cowboys could come out with the win. However, I'm going to ease on the side of history. I'm keeping up with the trend. Dak Prescott makes 1 or 2 crucial mistakes. I got the 49ers winning in this game on Sunday.
So do I. I think San Francisco's at home. I think that's another plus for them.
Yeah,
I do think that the Dallas's defense will get a real feel. This is a good litmus test for them going up against a really good offensive line.
Right.
And we'll see if their defense, Micah Parsons, can penetrate and get to the quarterback the way he has late in past games. And maybe he's a little banged up, right? His ankle.
Yeah.
Has been an issue. He was in and out of the game last week, so I think San Francisco's going to win.
Well, here's what's interesting, right? We talked about with John when he came on the show, I believe last Friday or the Friday before. We talked about how big of an impact the Trayvon Diggs injury was for the Cowboys defense. In the last playoff game against the 49ers, Trayvon Diggs, I think, was only targeted once, and I don't think he gave up a catch. I'll look it up right now. So he wasn't even a big part of this game. Yeah, he was 1 target, 1 catch for no yards. Trayvon Diggs, he guarded. I guess he was when he was guarding
which
CMC.
Game? He's out now
in the 2022 divisional game. Yeah, so he was guarding Christian McCaffrey. Gave up 1 catch for no total yards. So right now, Trayvon Diggs, at least the impact in the previous game that the Cowboys played against the 49ers, he was basically no factor. So I think the big difference in this game won't be the fact that Trayvon Diggs probably should have been in this game if he didn't have the ACL injury. I don't think Trayvon Diggs is going to be, the injury to Trayvon Diggs is going to be a big impact statement for the Cowboys. If we had Trayvon Diggs, we should have won, or whatever the case may be, because he wasn't that big of an impact player against the 49ers. Could we see Brock Purdy, because I think Brock Purdy, I think it might have been in his career or in the playoffs or whatever the case may be, I think he's only trailed for like under 3 minutes or something like that. Some crazy number
It's
like that.
unbelievable, that guy.
So let me ask you this. Would your opinion change if Brock Purdy goes down by, let's say, 10 points or 2 scores and can't come back with the talent that he has? Would your opinion of Brock Purdy or your outlook of Brock Purdy change if all of a sudden he can't come in the clutch and come out with a win if he's down by 10 or 13 points?
No.
So
it's only one game.
So
it's only one game. He's playing against a really good defense.
That is true.
He did well in the playoffs last year against some very good teams. Against the Cowboys, one of them. Right? He won those games.
He won the only reason
I bet you they would have beaten Philadelphia if he hadn't gotten hurt in that game.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had no quarterback there and at the end in that game. Right? Yeah. They basically got down to no quarterback.
I mean, Brock Purdy was out there throwing with a torn
All he could
UCL.
do was hand off. He couldn't throw the ball.
I think he tried. They
shouldn't even let him go back into the game. I think that was a mistake.
I think the broadcast said that CMC was warming up to throw the football.
You should have let him do that.
They played Wildcat all game. The Broncos.
At least they would have had that.
I think it was
the Eagles knew that they weren't even going to throw the ball. It was just running. That was it.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, what Brock Purdy has done so far, in his career, is absolutely insane. But he didn't look all that great against the Cowboys defense. This game was right there for the taking.
They were a very good defense.
I understand that, but the game was right there for the taking. And it wasn't the defense giving up a 35-yard bomb like the Bucs did against the Rams in 2021, where it was a blown coverage. Cooper Kupp just ran at the middle of the field. Winfield had to come down, ran right by him. That was Brady's Brady's great throw to Mike Evans against Jalen Ramsey very late in the game. Several fumbles in that game, blown defensive coverage. No, that wasn't what the Cowboys. That's not what this game had. That's not what this game. The story of the game was a blown coverage or whatever. No, it was Dak Prescott throwing 2 absolutely abysmal interceptions. Like that's where you see a rookie quarterback decision making. Like that's what you see from a rookie quarterback, not from a seasoned veteran like Dak Prescott, who I believe has 19 game-winning drives. You don't see that from a guy like that, except if it's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's the only guy that
hasn't been that good in the playoffs.
No, he has not. He's choked repeatedly. And remember, the first playoff appearance against the 49ers was that Jimmy G where Dak Prescott decided, I guess Mike McCarthy drove the play, that QB draw. That it was like 14 seconds left. He had that QB draw. The ref couldn't spot it with enough time. Play calling was not all that great. However,
I think the play calling in Dallas is a lot better this year.
It's more efficient.
There's more play action. The Dak up under center more.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy calling the plays. I think it's worked out well for him so far.
I could probably agree with you there. I want to ask you though, if the offense sputters, I would say, or Dak makes a lot of mistakes, are you putting this more on Dak Prescott or Mike McCarthy, who now this year has taken over offensive play calling? If the offense just looks horrible, can't get anything going, would you put that more on Dak or on Mike McCarthy?
I think more on Dak. I mean, he's out there on the field. I mean, you can call the plays. The play calling could be not the best, but it's up to the players to execute the plays that are called. So eventually you get into a rhythm or you don't, you know, and the offensive coordinator helps to get the team into a rhythm with the play selection. So it does have some bearing on it, but I think it's more the players on the field than it is the call, the call of the plays.
Right. It's crazy. You say that? Najee Harris said the same thing in defense of Matt Canada, because Matt Canada, people are going for his job.
Oh, yeah?
Najee Harris said the same thing. It's about execution. Really? It ain't about play calling.
Najee and I think alike.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break here, but coming up, we make our week 5 picks, and also hopefully I can maintain my great Harvey hot hand streak. That'll come up right after the break.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast, your food podcast, your mindfulness podcast, your never thought you'd get this far podcast, and watch those sparks fly.
but a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with, where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic, where we are making our Week 5 picks. Now, we're actually doing pretty well this season so far, so I think that's pretty shocking for, how our picks, we didn't do that well.
You think that's shocking? That we're doing well.
Because I think, it's very hard to win an NFL game, and it's even harder to pick who's going to win an NFL game, because there's so many factors that go in to picking NFL games. So I think it's time for you to start picking.
Oh, wow.
Shocking. Yeah, you're
I get to go first
this time. So take it away.
Okay, well, I lost last night. Yeah, my record on Thursday night has never been that great, and I'm off to a season that looks like it's headed in that direction again. But, oh well, I'll try to keep it going here and maybe do better next week on Thursday night. The Bills against the Jaguars. I like the Bills. They're playing over in London, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Bills will cover. I mean, the Bills look great against the Dolphins. Their offense was really clicking. And they gave up a few points to the Dolphins, but the Dolphins have been killing everyone else. So I think that the Bills look like one of the – and we saw on the notches that the Bills are in the top 4 teams. I think that's accurate. And the Jaguars, they seem to be having I don't know, maybe last they're doing better than last year's start, where they lost most of their games in the first half of the season. And they've won a couple so far this year, so they're doing better than last year, but not what we expected, right? We expected them to walk away with this division based on the way they played last year and the way they played in the playoffs. So, I don't know. They seem to be having some issues, so I like the Bills to win. The Bills are at home, too, so I got that going for them. The Texans against the Falcons. I like the Texans. They seem to have found something there. They have a exciting new young quarterback and C.J. Stroud. They have Will Anderson on defense. Very smart to trade up in the draft to get Will Anderson and to pick C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young. He looks like the better choice at this point. And I think they will beat the Falcons, who have exciting running back and Bijan Robinson. But their quarterback play is questionable, and I think Ritter is whether he's going to hang in there for the long term or not. I see very questionable. Moving on to the Lions at the Panthers. The Lions look really good now. I think they took care of the Packers. They have a long rest after that game. Now they're going up against the Panthers, who with Bryce Young playing like a rookie. And Frank Wright maybe not making all the best calls out there for the offense. I think the Lions are going to win this game and cover. The Colts against the Titans. I'm going to pick the Titans here. They played well last week. They seem to have gotten the running game going with Derrick Henry, who is a monster. And when that's going well, man, he's a freight train. And maybe Ryan Tannehill has found something. He's played well in 2 games this year so far, but he's been very inconsistent. So I think he's going to play well on Sunday, and I do think that the Titans will beat the Colts, but I think it will be a close game. The Patriots against the Saints. I will be at the game with you. We're looking forward heading up there on Sunday morning. It will be a fun ride up and get there early, watch them warm up. I'm excited. It's been a while since we've been to Foxborough. So I'm rooting for the Patriots, as always. I've picked them every week so far and lost 3 times, 3 out of 4. But I do think they will beat the Saints, who are an okay team. I don't think they're a great team. Their offense is sputtering. Derek Carr really hasn't found his groove with them yet. And I think that even without Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez, I think the Patriots defense will have some surprises for the Saints, and I think they will find a way to win the game. But I do think it will be close. Miami against the Giants. This is prohibitive. I think the Giants... they've gone back to being their pre-Brian Daboll team, and now with him, he's got to be so upset and so frustrated with the way they played. They've only scored 3 points at home. They're playing on the road. Maybe that will help them. But they're playing the Dolphins, and the Dolphins have got the elite offense. And they were slowed down last week by Buffalo, but Buffalo has an elite defense, and the Giants do not. So I do see the Dolphins beating them and covering the point spread, which is very high in this game, 12 points. The Ravens at the Steelers. The Steelers' offense is messed up. Kenny Pickett's got hurt, and they had Trubisky in there last week. Is Pickett going to start this week? Do you know?
Yeah,
he's going to be back in there. But they don't. I don't know. They haven't clicked yet, and they do have a decent defense. T.J. Watt, but the Ravens are looking very good. You rank them up there in the top 7 in your team ranking. I agree with you, and I think the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson back playing well and with his new contract, I think they're going to win and cover that spread. Here's a surprise, maybe the most. This is not what most people are predicting. I'm saying that the Cardinals will beat the Bengals. And the Bengals have started out terrible. Joe Burrow, who didn't have any preseason snaps and has looked very rusty in the first few games, and actually they re-injured himself. And says he's the healthiest he's been so far, so we'll wait and see. But the Cardinals are a surprise team. They play well at home. They beat Dallas at home. Probably the Bengals won't take them as lightly as Dallas seemed to, because that cost Dallas a win. And I'm looking for the Cardinals to upset the Bengals and win that game. Eagles against the Rams. I like the Eagles. The Eagles are undefeated. They look really good. I don't think they played their best football either. Their offense has not been what it was last year. I think they're going to find that. I think that the Rams are going to be a challenge for them because Cooper Kupp is coming back, and they have this new rookie wide receiver. What's that guy's name? Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua. Yeah, he's been playing very well, and now with Cooper Kupp back, both those guys out there, that will help both of them. And I think the Rams and what's his name? This quarterback for the Rams.
Matthew
Stafford. He's been playing better this year. So I think it'll be a close game, but I do think the Eagles will win. Jets against the Broncos. I'm picking the Jets. I think that Zach Wilson has been getting more confident. He played well last week. He did make a stupid mistake, and he admitted it. He said, I lost the game for the team. Taking that kind of responsibility shows maturity. I think he will play better against the Broncos, who have what looked like a pretty crappy defense, giving up 70 points against the Miami Dolphins and giving up a lot of points against the Bears last week. I'm surprised their defense is so poor. Russell Wilson played pretty well. They brought him back. They won that game by a field goal. And if they'd lost that game, I don't know what would have happened out there for the Broncos, man. They're 1-3 now. So, and the Jets are also 1-3. I think the Jets can pull it out in Mile High Stadium. Yeah. The Chiefs against the Vikings. I think the Chiefs are going to win. Even though they're playing at the Vikings, I think the Chiefs are going to find their rhythm on offense. I think the wide receiver core, which is not elite by any stretch except for Travis Kelce, will start to get in the groove with Mahomes, and I think you're going to see that Sunday, and I do think the Chiefs will win and cover. Moving on to the other games, and now we're starting to get some buys here, so you got 4 teams that aren't playing this week, but on Sunday Night Football, we just talked about San Francisco and Dallas. I like San Francisco. Monday Night Football, Green Bay at the Raiders. These are 2 teams that I don't think are really going much of anywhere. Jimmy G is going to be in the game, and I didn't really know that until just earlier today, but I picked the Packers to win. I'm sticking with that, even though the game last week against the Lions on Thursday night, the Packers looked terrible, and so did Love. He was he didn't play well at all. He didn't look like he's ready to play, and so if he plays like that, then I think the Raiders have a chance, particularly with Jimmy G back. But I'm still picking them to win, and those are my picks, Nate.
I don't know. You have a couple good picks, and I actually agree. Even though we're going to see in my picks, there's one pick that I don't agree with you and who wins. You make a very, very strong case for that team actually winning. So let's jump right into it with my picks. So here we go. So week 1 and 4, or I guess not week 1, but game 1 of this week, the Commanders lost. However, we both did pick the Bears to at least cover, and that was basically, at least in my estimation, was strictly due to the fact that they had a great game against the Broncos. I thought that they could replicate that on some level, but the Commanders could still come out with that win. And unfortunately, that didn't go 100% through it. I'll give myself. I'll give both of us 50%. We got that half right technically. So yeah. No, it like I said, it's hard to pick NFL games. But let's jump into my first pick. So there we go. So Bills, Jaguars, London game. I got the Jaguars plus 5.5, but I do have the Bills pulling out with this win. So the Jaguars playing back-to-back London games. I think that gives them a slight edge. The fact that they stay in London, the Bills have to commute from the United States over to London. The Jags could just chill there, which they have, of course. And honestly, I'm going to pick the Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence, what we've seen last year, he was the number 1 quarterback, at least, stats-wise, from week 7 of last year on. Some point we got to see that Trevor Lawrence again. And I think we have some sort, not a full breakout because I think they still lose, but we see a glimpse of what the Jaguars could be after their second consecutive very, very slow start. I do think the Bills win. Jaguars cover, though. Next one, Texans are road underdogs against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm trusting what I'm seeing in C.J. Stroud, DeMeco Ryans, and this Texans offense. Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and C.J. Stroud have shocked me, have shocked the NFL world. So I will take C.J. Stroud and the Texans to pull out the win over the Atlanta Falcons on the road. Next one, I normally say, don't bet, double-digit spreads. This time, the Panthers don't have a number 1 receiver. They're still trying to look for one. I don't think they'll get one by Sunday. Even then, he won't play for the Panthers by Sunday. So I think the Lions come out here. Their defense is going to tear a hole through that Panthers offensive line. I think they'll disrupt any, if it's Adam Thielen or any one of their other receivers. I think the defense, which is a surprisingly good defense that the Lions had compared to last season, I think they get the job done. Jared Goff easily comes out with a massive win here. I'll get the Lions to win and cover, even though it's a double-digit point spread. The next one, Titans, Colts. I got the Colts as winning this game and obviously then covering the plus 2.5 point spread. On the road, the Titans have only scored 9 points while giving up an average of 21.5 points. So more than double the points scored they give up. They're not a good road. They're not a good road team this season. And I think what Shane Steichen's doing with Anthony Richardson is he's replicating what he did with Jalen Hurts, and he's replicating what he's doing with Justin Herbert. I love what this Colts team looks like. They look interesting. They look fun. They look exciting. And Anthony Richardson, being the rawest quarterback coming out of this draft, has looked like one of the better ones. I would right now put him above Bryce Young. He is at least the second best quarterback in this draft class. I would put C.J. Stroud number 1, however. whatsoever. But this Colts team's fun. It's exciting. I got the Colts winning outright and obviously covering the plus 2.5 point spread at home against the Tennessee Titans. The next one, Saints at Patriots. This is do or die moment for Bill Belichick and his Patriots offense. The defense, yes, it's banged up with Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez both out for the entire year. They did bring in J.C. Jackson. They traded about a penny to get him because the Chargers wanted him out of the building. So I think it's a good move for the Patriots to bring back Mr. INT. I think he had 22 interceptions in 3 years, 17 in 2 years. It's absolutely incredible what he did with the Patriots. I think it could have been scheme. It could have been coaching. However, I think J.C. Jackson is back home. I think he's going to go back to what he used to be. At least that's what I can at least hope for. I don't know if he plays this weekend. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. If he doesn't, I don't know if Miles Bryant will get cooked again. Sean Wade, I'm sure he's going to play. Is going to play. A large amount of snaps. That's not good for the Patriots. Those are both two not good defensive backs. But I do have the Patriots bouncing back here and winning. I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring game. Both offenses are terrible. They don't score many points. I think Derek Carr is still trying to heal from his AC joint injury. I think Mac Jones, he's motivated to bounce back. I don't know. I don't know if they stick to the run game in this one, but I do think the Patriots come out with a low-scoring win here at home. Next one, Giants, Dolphins. I'm not really going to say much about this because I think it's self-explanatory. The Dolphins are a really good team. The Giants are probably the worst team in the NFL. So I think that's all I really have to say. I mean, with Tua, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, was it Devin Achan or Devin Achaney, however you want to pronounce his last name. That offense is just absolutely spectacular. Now, Terron Armstead just went on the IR. I don't know how that'll affect it, but the Giants' defense isn't what the Giants' defense was last season. So I will take the, like I said, this is a double-digit point spread. I just think the Dolphins are way too good, way too explosive, way too dynamic. I'll take them to win and cover the minus 12 point spread. The next one, the Ravens and Steelers. I really wanted to pick the Steelers to win outright. I don't trust the offense. The past 5 appearances that Lamar had against the Steelers, he has a 2-3 record, sub 60% completion percentage, 600 yards total. He has 4 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Not good for Lamar Jackson whatsoever. A 67.4 passer rating. So Lamar, honestly, I think going up against the Steelers, it's probably the worst performances he's ever had in his NFL career. So this game, I think, is going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be close, as these games have been. But I do think Lamar ekes out the win strictly because Kenny Pickett and this offense is basically non-existent. The offense is absolutely terrible. I do think Lamar pulls out with a very, very low-scoring win, but they do win. I do think the Steelers cover a plus 4.5 point spread, although. Next one, this is like with the Patriots. This is a do or die. Joe Burrow says that this is the healthiest he's been so far. I have to take him at his word. I don't love it. I think he should have sat to start the season. I don't think it's a good idea that he continually plays. However, this is the season. I don't care what anyone else says. I don't care the fact that after this, there's 12 more weeks. For me, it does not matter. This is the season. This game against the Cardinals, this is the Bengals season. If they lose this game and you get that pick 100% correct, the Bengals will not make the playoffs because this team looks terrible. So far, Joe Burrow, I think he's either the third. If we're at a 32 quarterbacks right now, he's either dead last or he's the 31st best quarterback in the league. Like, he's been absolutely abysmal this year, and this is my MVP pick. And he's literally flipped the opposite. MVP, best quarterback in the league. Generally, I know it's not it shouldn't be a quarterback award, but it is. So best quarterback in the league. He's really like the worst quarterback so far this season. So this is really it. Zach Taylor, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, this offense, it's all cards are pushed to the front of the table. All chips are pushed to the center of the table. This is it, really, for the Cincinnati Bengals. I do think they get it done, though, because this is desperation mode. The Bengals do get the win and cover the minus 3 point spread. The next one, Eagles, Rams. Cooper Kupp's back. Puka Nacua, I believe he's dealing with an injury, but he should be fine. Matt Stafford's a little bit banged up. I don't really care. I think the Rams somehow pull this out. The Eagles do not look great. They are nowhere near. This defense is nowhere near the same defense it was last season. More yards, less turnovers, less sacks. I mean, this defense is not as crazy as it was last season. Could it be because Jonathan Gannon's gone? The offense doesn't look all that great. Is it because Shane Steichen left? Who knows? I think that could very well play into it. I think this Rams team pulls out with this win. I think Cooper Kupp has a great game. He was listed, I believe, as limited on the injury report, but Sean McVay said he won't actually be limited. I think Cooper Kupp has a good game. I think Puka Nacua has a good game. I don't know if Tutu Atwell is injured or not, but regardless if he's in, I think he has an okay game. I think they may try to run the ball. I think the Rams are going to pull out this one and maybe shock a few people. Rams do win this game. This is the game I said that I don't love. But I mean, let's be honest here. Broncos have a better quarterback. Broncos have a better offensive line. The defense on the Broncos is shockingly very, very bad. But I think Russell Wilson, you could argue he's a top 10 quarterback this season. If he loses to Zach Wilson, you were this close to losing to Justin Fields. If you lose to Zach Wilson, like I said, if you lost to the Bears, changes will be made. I think there's going to be an uproar in Denver if you somehow lose to Zach Wilson. And I think you don't. I think you pull out with a win here. I think it could very well could be a field goal that you win by, but I do think you get the win and beat Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. Chiefs at Vikings. I do think the Chiefs get the win here. The Vikings don't really have a good defense. I think the Chiefs will try to get... Isaiah Pacheco had a great game against the Jets. The Jets defense really had no answers for him. I think sort of a similar thing could be, the outcome of this game. Isaiah Pacheco has a great game. Mahomes makes a couple crucial runs that he needs to. I think Travis Kelce gets going. Will Taylor Swift be at this game? Who the hell knows? But if she is, will the broadcast show her 15,000 times? 1,000% that is the case. So I'll take the Chiefs to win here. If Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are both connected to that game, I'm calling a blowout. Otherwise, if Taylor Swift decides to skip this game in Minnesota, maybe it's not a blowout, but I do think the Chiefs get the win on the road here. Next one, the game of the week, Sunday Night Football, Cowboys at 49ers. If this was a 4.5 or even a 4-point spread, I would pick Cowboys +4 or +4.5, but it is 3.5, so I got to give it to the 49ers here because I think there's going to be a low-scoring and a close game. I don't think the Cowboys defense is going to sputter. I don't think the 49ers defense is going to sputter. Now, there's actually, this could be a battle of Defensive Player of the Year. Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons. Who's the better defensive player against two pretty good offensive lines and two pretty good quarterbacks and two pretty good offensive schemes? I think the 49ers come out with a win, though. I think Brock Purdy plays good enough like he has. At least, last time he played the Cowboys, he played just good enough, although it was because Dak Prescott threw 2 horrible interceptions. I think Dak makes 1 or 2 big mistakes, as he normally does in big-time games, so I'll take the 49ers to win and cover the -3.5-point spread, which leads us to Monday Night Football. I don't love the fact that Jimmy G, people just an hour before the show, half an hour before the show, we hear reports, Jimmy G will be back, he's clear concussion protocol. I think I could be wrong. I think the Packers defense will generate just enough pressure to disrupt Jimmy G and make him throw when he's uncomfortable. Now, that's exactly what the Steelers did, and Jimmy G looked horrible against the Steelers. It was really Devontae Adams or bust, and some of the time he couldn't even get it to Devontae Adams because he was going in the hands of a Steelers defender. Now, their defense, according to Pro Football Focus, their defensive ranking is 15th. And the Raiders is 19th. So they have, according to PFF, they have a slightly higher rated defense. And I think right now, the Packers will generate just enough pressure to make Jimmy G uncomfortable. Maybe throw 1 or 2 interceptions, maybe a costly one late. Jordan Love plays efficient enough as he normally has. The completion percentage isn't there to, really respect what I just said. However, he's won a few games. He's shocked, I'm sure, a couple of people. And you know what? He's lived up to the expectations that I gave him, which was just replicate what Rodgers did last season. Rodgers wasn't all that great last season. And, based on what he was actually pretty bad last season. I think Jordan Love can replicate that 7-10, 8-9 season. And I think the Packers do get the win here on the road in Monday Night Football. So that wraps up our picks. Now it is time for a recurring segment on the show, which is my Harvey hot hand. Now let's bring it the record here. So I believe heading into last week, I was 11-2-1. I want to say, or 11-1-2 or something. The actual record is, we could do quick math on the show right now. As of right now, I'm 14-4-2. That's pretty good. I did the quick math. If you bet all my picks, $20 picks each week, you would have made about $200. So there you go, making some money here on the Harvey Hour. But let's jump into this week's list of the Harvey Hot Hand with our first pick of this week.
Texans at Falcons.
The Texans at the Falcons. I'm trusting C.J. Stroud here. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, and Robert Woods. They are going to get it done. Dameon Pierce may have a good game, but Desmond Ridder is not the guy for the Falcons. I really think he's not all that great. He hasn't even been very good. Now, could Bijan Robinson have a great game? He very well could have against a Texans defense that is rebuilding right now, but I'm trusting DeMeco Ryans. I'm trusting C.J. Stroud. I'm trusting those wide receivers. And, you maybe trust Dameon Pierce in the backfield. So I think the Texans will pull out a win here, win on the road, cover the plus 1.5 point spread, and win 27-23.
Panthers at Lions.
Panthers at Lions here. I always say this, don't bet on double-digit point spreads because generally they lose, except when it's, the Panthers, when they don't have a wide receiver one, their offensive line isn't all that great, and their running game has been way more lackluster than I would like. I have Miles Sanders on my fantasy team, and it's been, largely a dud, and it's killed me in fantasy, really, because I don't have a flex, really. So I'll take the Lions to win here. David Montgomery has looked actually really, really good. Jahmyr Gibbs is probably one of the most explosive running backs in the league right now. The offensive line is a top 3 offensive line in the league for the Lions. Jared Goff, he's very, very careful with the football, 26th in turnover-worthy plays, and he's, I believe, top 10 in big-time plays or big-time throws. So Jared Goff and this Lions offense with Ben Johnson as their OC, it's an explosive offense. They went up against Patrick Mahomes in week 1, dominated. Jared Goff outplayed Mahomes. And right now I think this Lions team is just getting started. I'll take the Lions to win and cover the minus 10 point spread and win 30-17.
Saints at Patriots.
Saints at Patriots. It's do or die for the New England Patriots right now. It could be Mac Jones's. You could argue if he loses in a horrible fashion, throws the ball away, this could be his last game in a Patriots uniform. Just going to throw it out here. I don't fully believe that. However, if he plays bad, you're going to hear it from media. You're going to hear it from fans. You may hear it from other coaches internally poking at Belichick. Maybe Bailey Zappi should be the quarterback. Very well could be. I don't think Bailey Zappi's much better than Mac Jones. He may not even be better. But I do think the Patriots get a win here. The running game needs to pick up. Mac Jones in his rookie year, over 25% of his dropbacks were play-action dropbacks, and he was actually one of the best play-action quarterbacks in his rookie year. Since then, with Matt Patricia reportedly drew up 10 passing plays. Not good. I think they did play action 16% of the time. This season, it's even worse than that. I think Ezekiel Elliott and Ramondre Stevenson need to get something going here. They have to help out the offense and to help out Mac Jones to open up something. The Saints defense got a little bit exposed. The offense for the Saints with Derek Carr surprisingly has been very, very poor, even though they have Alvin Kamara back now. They have Michael Thomas. They have Chris Olave. They have pieces there, and unfortunately the offense has not been at least what I was expecting. I do think in desperation mode, Belichick draws something up. We may see J.C. Jackson in there on a random, not fully scripted play because J.C. Jackson doesn't know the full playbook. He may get an interception or two there. He's Mr. INT. I think the Patriots win in an upset because they are +1 underdogs at home. I think they win 24-20.
Eagles at Rams.
I like Puka Nacua. I love Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp's back, and Matthew Stafford, even though he's banged up, I trust this offense. They're actually surprisingly good, and what's shocking is that the Eagles are nowhere near where they were last season. The defense is giving up more yards, more points, less sacks, less turnovers. I mean, the defense is nowhere near where they were last season. And not only that, the offense does not look as explosive and dominant as it has last year. The offense was a little bit shaky. They just went toe-to-toe with Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders. And if Riverboat Ron decided to go for 2 and take a risk, they very well could have lost to the Commanders. I'll take the Rams to win here, obviously win, cover the +4 point spread, upset at home, win 30-27. And my last Harvey Hot Hand pick for Week 5, I got
Packers at Raiders.
Packers at Raiders. I just talked about this. I think the Packers defense will disrupt Jimmy G just enough for a late game interception, late game strip sack, something. Jimmy G will make a crucial mistake in this game. I think Jordan Love comes out here. He plays effectively. He plays efficiently. He plays just good enough. Gets it to Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. Musgrave, I don't know if Musgrave's hurt, but get it to Musgrave. Get it to somebody. The running game has been non-existent. You got to run the ball. We just saw we look like, I think he played the Lions last week. They just decided to pass the ball a bunch of times. Wasn't a good sight. Wasn't a pretty sight. You got to get something going with Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon's another guy on my fantasy team. He's been killing me if I put him in. So I do think he plays just good enough to get a win. Upset on the road, plus 1 point, but I have the Packers winning 28-20, and that wraps up Week 5's version of the Harvey Hot Hand. There you go. Wrap it up there. I do want to talk about that J.C. Jackson trade right now. So I'll bring up what they actually traded for, but I do want to first of all, do you think it's a good move for the Patriots to actually trade for J.C. Jackson?
I do.
Why? Let's go with why.
Because he was great for them. And now they've lost their number one corner. They still think they could be a playoff team. So they had to take the chance and go with J.C. Jackson. I think you're paying him an awful lot of money. That's not something Belichick ever likes to do.
Right.
But I do think it was a smart move, and I think J.C. Jackson will be enthused to be back with the Patriots. They'll put him in the scheme that he was so successful in, and I'm hoping we'll see him on Sunday.
Well, right now he's backing up Miles Bryant, which...
How could they do that?
Because he hasn't been with the team for a couple of years.
Well,
You got to get him situated. He's also been benched for the past 2 weeks, or at least for the past week, which is interesting. But the Patriots, they got a 7th-round pick. You gave up a 6th plus JC. You got JC Jackson in a 7th.
I mean, the Chargers were dumping the salary.
What I find fascinating, and maybe, you have to, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Belichick was willing to, I don't know if he'll trade him after this year, whatever the case may be, but if he's willing to, to keep J.C. Jackson signed a 5-year, $82.5 million contract. Belichick can't spend that on a receiver? He decides Christian Gonzalez goes down 5 seconds later. Oh, J.C. Jackson. Meanwhile, they have the slowest receivers in the league, and they're like, broken down Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's get rid of Jacoby. Let's get broken Juju. Let's outbid the Chiefs for him. Devontae Parker injuries with the Dolphins. My type of receiver. What's the name? DeAndre Hopkins out there. OBJ was out there. Jerry Jeudy was a potential trade candidate. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, well, maybe Demario Douglas is the answer.
You got to play him. They don't play him.
Yeah, he played last week.
He had that one great play early in the game, and then he was like, "Is he on the team? Yeah. Where is he?"
Yeah.
So willing to take on a massive contract that originally the Patriots weren't willing to pay him. Let him go to free agency, which he just came off of an 8-interception season. You don't want to pay him money. He gets paid massively by the Chargers, and you're gonna bring him back and pay basically what 3 years of that contract.
3.5, almost 4.
Christian Gonzalez goes down. J.C. Jackson. They desperately need some receiver that has great talent. Nope, let's get a broken Juju. Let's sign a one-dimensional Mike Gesicki. I don't know. I found that really shocking. How, a blink of an eye, you'd miss that Belichick. He went from Los Angeles Charger to New England Patriots like that. But no, we have to wait years and years and years. Missed draft pick after missed draft pick. Free agents come out here, left, right, front, and center. And Belichick's like, now let's get tier 6 receiver for a quarterback that desperately needs talent because he's not a Mahomes, Allen, or Hurts. I just found that fascinating.
Yeah.
How you have...
That's an interesting take. Were we going to do the baseball playoffs?
Yeah, let's do the baseball playoffs. So the wild card round is already done. I believe you also go for this. So we're not going to go round to round to round. We're just going to say why we picked the team going forward. So this is your postseason picture.
Yeah.
So why do you think go through each series?
I think Houston is they played much better near the end of the season. They had a bunch of injuries in the early part of the year, and they recovered from that. And they have Justin Verlander back, and I just think they've been there. They were there last year. They won it all. I think they'll make it again to the final. The Orioles. I mean, they came out of nowhere, right? Yeah. They have no playoff experience, really. So we'll see. They may have a tough time getting by Texas, but I did pick them because they're American League East, and I like the American League East. So, but I think Houston will beat them. On the National League side, This is a tougher one for me. I think the Dodgers are really good, right? They've got 2 potential MVP candidates, and Mookie Betts and the first baseman there, Freddie Freeman. Yeah. But the Braves, they've got Acuna, right? He had 1,000 home runs and 1,000 stolen bases, something like that. I mean, he's probably into the MVP. I think the Braves beat the Dodgers in 7. Well, and I think in the World Series, you don't have it up there, but I think the Braves are going to win.
I do have it up there. I was going through it. Okay. I will say this, though. That Braves-Phillies series last season was one of the best. Now, the Phillies ended up winning 3-1 in that series. But what happened? I mean, I agree with you. I don't think the Phillies can get it done, and that's why I have a similar picture than yours. Except I think the
Baltimore is going to beat Houston.
Represent the AL East. If you can't beat them, root for them. Yeah. The Red Sox couldn't beat the living daylights out of the Orioles.
The Red Sox couldn't beat anybody.
that is true. They literally flip flopped. Last season, they couldn't beat their own division.
They wound up in last place again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. However, terrible. I do think the Orioles are a shockingly great team. Not even a shockingly good team. A shockingly great team. They're the number 1 team in the AL, and I'll take them to represent the AL all the way to the World Series, facing off in the Braves. And the kicker, I have them winning the World Series.
Oh, my God.
The Baltimore Orioles are winning the World Series.
If they win it, that will be an exciting and entertaining, and that team will go nuts if they win that World Series.
Representing the AL East, I have an AL East team winning, and that is indeed the Baltimore Orioles. Now, here's the crazy thing. Here's why no one should trust our MLB picks. Our picks were horrible last season. Yeah. I don't think we got one right.
No?
We may have gotten 1 or 2 right. I forget what we actually chose.
I'm pretty sure you're not getting the Baltimore right, but we'll see.
I mean, we tied.
It's going to take forever to get it done. I mean, it'll be the end of October before we know.
We have the same ALCS matchup, but we don't have the same ALCS winner.
Yeah.
And we have the same NLCS. We have the same NL matchup in its entirety.
Well, we have the Braves going all the way there.
Yeah, we each have the Braves.
I have them winning it, and you don't. No.
Baltimore Orioles. I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know.
They're a Cinderella team.
Well, this is where people watch the MLB. They don't watch 162 games. Hell, I don't think most people watch 81 games. So I think this is where the light's going to be the brightest. We'll see if a young team like the Baltimore Orioles can perform. Yeah. Now, here's the real kicker. If the Rangers beat the Orioles, then that literally kills my entire AL bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. You're done if that happens. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't think so. I think the Baltimore will get to the ALCS, but
well, I hope so.
I don't think they get to the World Series.
Well, those are our postseason picture predictions. I don't know how well they're going to be, but we'll wait and see.
We'll find out. That's the one thing in sports. There's a winner and there's a loser.
That's for damn sure. So Saturday, the divisional series will start. I don't know. A lot of eyes are going to be on the MLB playoffs. So that'll wrap it up for this episode of the Harvey Hour. However, that'll be the end of it. Next week, Tuesday, we recap a bunch of these games on Sunday. Once again, Colorado plays a lower tier team, not a great team. I'm sure a lot of people will watch. Deion Sanders. There was actually something I found interesting. A anonymous Pac-12 assistant coach is calling out Shedeur Sanders for stat padding and said he's taking too many sacks in order to maintain his completion percentage being at a high level. What do you think of that?
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I think they just have a poor offensive line.
Yeah, no, I can definitely agree with that. So, yeah, I just thought, a quick opinion on that. But yeah, for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the Harvey Hour. Catch us Tuesday to recap a bunch of the NFL games and maybe some NBA news. Who knows? Stuff may break, but we will see you Tuesday, 6 to 8 p.m.